Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. For today, our group will be presenting on one of the solvent poisoning, which is xylene poisoning. So for my part, I'll explain on chemical structure of xylene first. So this is chemical structure for xylene, or the other name is dimethylbenzene, xylol, and also methyltoluene. Xylene have three isomers depending on the position of the metal itself, whether it is paraxylene, orthoxylene, methylxylene, or 1,4-dimethylbenzene. It is colorless, watery fluid with sweet odor. That is why xylene is characterized under aromatic solvent. Freezing point is at 56 degree Fahrenheit. So look at the chemical safety at the level of the reagent. It is highly flammable, which can cause fire hazard. It is irritant to the skin, and it causes health hazard, which include difficulty in breathing and can also lead you to death. Next, characteristics of xylene include volatile. Because of the vapor is heavier than air, it is highly accumulate in the low high area. It is highly toxic to aquatic life because of the xylene is less dense than water, that makes xylene float on the top of the water. That can cause difficulty in aquatic life for searching for the oxygen for their respiration process. Next is insoluble in water, and it is rapidly absorbed after ingestion and inhalation. So xylene can cause depression on your central nervous system or CNS, and it can cause severe symptoms such as headache, dizziness, fainting, and can also ensure your death. Therefore, please make sure that you keep the xylene away from the direct sunlight, strong oxidizing agents, and keep it away from the open flame. So I think that's all from me. I'll let Shika to continue the presentation for the route of exposure for xylene poisoning. And thank you everyone.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Next, we're going to discuss about route of exposure of xylene. We're going to see how xylene enters and changes our body that can lead to health complications. So there are four known routes of exposure of xylene. They include inhalation, oral, dermal, and ocular. And between these four, inhalation is the most common route. By inhalation, it means that breathing in xylene vapors that comes from paints, for example, and other consumer products. And these vapors, they are rapidly absorbed by lungs and metabolized. It can irritate and inflame mucous membranes of respiratory tract. In massive and prolonged exposure, it accumulates fluid in lungs, causing respiratory arrest. And compared to adults, children are more vulnerable to this. So this is a case of xylene poisoning by inhalation that is reported. 3 painters were found unconscious after prolonged exposure to xylene that is estimated by 10,000 ppm or part per million for 15 hours. One of them died due to pulmonary congestion, while the other 2 were admitted to the hospital and treated accordingly, but one of them also suffered from pulmonary complications. Next, the route of exposure is oral. Ingestion of xylene-contaminated food or drink. Though this route is not that common, but xylene still can be found in many types of food at level ranging from 1 to 100 ppb or part per billion. It is not commonly found in drinking water, but if do, the level is below 2 ppb. And this is another case report. A person committed suicide by consuming xylene shows pulmonary congestion and edema. However, there is no adverse effect to cardiovascular or gastrointestinal system. Hence, it is concluded the death was due to centrally mediated depression of respiratory system. And next route is dermal or skin contact with xylene. It can cause vasodilation of the skin, dryness and scaling that you can see in the picture there. Just like inhalation route, children are more vulnerable due to larger surface area to body weight ratio. Next route is ocular. High concentration of xylene vapor cause eye irritation. It can cause burning pain, conjunctivitis, corneal vacuolation, and keratitis. Yeah, that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today I will present about the mechanism of xylene. Xylene will metabolize into its metabolites through a oxidative biotransformation. The metabolites that can be formed from xylene is methyl benzyl alcohol, methyl benzyl mercaptoric acid, methyl hyperic acid, and dimethylphenol. This metabolite of xylene will give effect to human, which is lipophilic effect, irritant effect, narcotic, and anesthetic properties. This metabolite will give a toxic effect to human through its mechanism of toxicity, which is oxidative DNA damage, DNA fragmentation, DNA degradation, DNA strand break, necrosis, and apoptosis. When the mechanism of toxicity happens, then it will alter in the signaling pathway, cellular homeostasis, increase of the inhibition effect of the GABA, and then it will also decrease the cytochrome. So this will give effect to the system of the human, which is neurological system. It will depress the central nervous system, and it also can affect our immunological system. Thank you. That's all from me.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nur Atira binti Amruddin. We'll continue the presentations with the clinical effects of xylene. So first of all, we need to know the sources of xylene emissions to the environment. So what is the sources of xylene? The first one is the cigarette smokes. Second is the industry effluents. And then is the laboratory vapors, paint and varnish, vehicle emissions, and petroleum pollutants. All of these sources may expose to human either through the occupational or environmental exposure, which then will toxicologically affect the biological systems or organs in the human bodies, such as nervous system, reproductive or developmental systems, immune system, hepatic system, or the respiratory systems. Okay, next, let's go through 4 every systems in the human body. The first one is the neurological effects. So the xylene and their individual isomers will lead to slow response to the external stimuli, which then will alter the memory, imbalance of body height, or the locomotion achieved through the movement of human limbs and the incoordinations. And then the workers who exposed to the mixed solvents containing xylene for a long time may slow down the nerve signaling, especially in the radius and tibia, while the other systems will also observe, such as cramp, numbness, and weakness. And then exposure via inhalation route to mixed xylene or their different isomers will pose the neurotoxic properties, including impulsiveness, cancer, altered vision, behavioral changes, incoordination, severe elevated respirations, hyperactive to stimuli, spasms, and reduced acetylcholine. As we all know that acetylcholine serves as neurotransmitter at all parasympathetic innervated organs. What is the effects of xylene to reproductive system? So a mixture of organic solvents will cause an increase in the prevalence of oligomenorrhea. Did you know what is oligomenorrhea? So, oligomenorrhea is infrequent menstruations at interval of more than 35 days without menstruating. And then, an exposure to these solvents will cause adverse outcome on reproductive hormones, like the reductions of pregnanidiol 3-glucuronide in the corpus luteum phase, pre-ovulatory luteinizing hormone, and the extron 3-glucuronide and higher follicle phase, PD3G. And then some reports also shows that decrease of spermatozoa viability and decreased motility along with lower acrosine action released from spermatozoa, which aid in penetrations of zona pellucida, and this obviously will lead to infertility. Now, so let me move to the hepatic effects. So histopathological examinations of hepa exposed to xylene for a long period reveal a minor liver toxicity, which involve increase of rough endoplasmic reticulum, autophagus body, dispersions of ribosomes from rough endoplasmic reticulum, drop glycogen amount, deform mitochondria, and change in the propagations of hepatocellular nuclei. And then, in the human body, there is a primary enzyme that we call as CYP2E1, which converts xylene to methyl benzyl alcohols to form methyl hippuric acid and being excreted through the urines. And then, the occupational workers who expose through different routes of xylenes and other chemicals will lead to high D-glucuric acid amount in the urine, which show increase in hepatic enzymatic activities. And then we go to the respiratory effects due to xylene exposure. So a study showed nose and throat irritation in humans who exposed for 3 to 5 minutes to make xylene, and then reducing pulmonary microsomal activity by the inhibitions of selective enzymes can lead to injury in the lung due to productions of metabolites of xylene such as methylbenzaldehyde, which also lead to anorexia. In hematological effects, prolonged exposure to xylene will cause a decrease in mean corpuscular hemoglobin, drop total leukocytes because of decrease in different cells count due to the enhancements of monocytes and reticulocytes. And then the chronic exposure to xylene, which is one of the isomers of xylene, has been associated with thrombocytopenia, or the decreased number of thrombocytes, leukopenia, and anemia. The solvent mixtures that constitute xylene, which is a non-chemical, will lead to the cancer of blood. Last but not least is the cardiovascular effects. So workers who are exposed to the long-term exposure to xylene with other aromatic hydrocarbons complains of headache, the irritations, heart palpitations, indigestions, thoracic pain, the cases of flushing, and an irregular electrocardiogram. And then, according to animal studies, the rat who exposed to thousands milligrams of xylene for 4 weeks are developing inflamed thickness of coronary arteries, bradyarrhythmia, and asystole. Okay, these two tables shows a list of studies whose results show the association of xylene exposure and the incidence health effects on different systems. So for more detailed information, you guys can refer to these tables. So that's all for me, Nur Atira binti Amudin, and I will pass my presentations to the next presenter.
Thank you, Atira. I will proceed with management of xylene poisoning. As for now, there is no specific antidote that can cure xylene poisoning, and the treatment of it is only management of the symptom and largely supportive for respiratory and cardiovascular function. Moving on, next, the basic decontamination of the patient who are exposed to xylene. First of all, we need to quickly remove and double back the contaminated clothing and the personal belongings of the patient. And then, if the substance xylene are exposed to skin and eyes, we need to flush with water for a period of time until the pain resolves. And if the patient is exposed to xylene in fumes or in tight space with bad air circulation, move them to open air and let them breathe fresh air. For laboratory analysis and investigation of xylene poisoning, test for blood xylene concentrations is usable for document of exposure but not clinically useful. Also, methyl hippuric acid levels in urine also can help confirm the diagnosis or etiology of exposure, but are not correlate with systemic effects of xylene poisoning. For additional tests, renal function test and liver function test to monitor any impairment in renal function and liver function. Also ECG to monitor the heart, bronchoscopy to check for the burns in the airway and the lungs, endoscopy to check for burns caused by xylene in esophagus, and finally chest x-ray to check for burns also in the lungs of the patient. Life supportive procedure and symptomatic treatment of the patient includes fluids to vein by intravenous, washing of the skin for a few hours for several days, breathing support including tube to the mouth into the lungs and breathing machine using ventilator, gastric lavage to wash out the stomach, the xylene from stomach, and also if there is burnt skin, a surgery to remove the burnt skin. This is the list of references we use to prepare our slides and presentation. That's all from us. I hope everyone can understand what we present, and if there is misinformation in our part, please tell us and we can learn together. Thank you for listening. Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera.